The difference between wishful thinking and should thinking is. The question he raised is very important, and I would like to explain it here. Whether it's wanting your son to behave better or wanting to outperform your colleagues at work, these desires themselves are not unreasonable. However, the fundamental difference between should thinking and wishful thinking is whether we can tolerate the reality that does not align with our wishes. We hope our children will be obedient, well-behaved, and sensible, which is our wish, but children often have the typical laziness of their age, and that is the reality. We all want to be liked and respected by others, which is our wish. But you also know that sometimes there are people who don't like you, and that is the reality. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, you can only accept it. Reality will not negotiate with you, and you cannot overcome reality. Even if you want to change reality, you can only do so based on acknowledging reality. However, some people with should thinking cannot see this. They seem to be at odds with reality and feel that reality should not be this way. For example, when that mother is angry with her disobedient child, she seems to be saying, "I must make my child meet my wishes." When I asked her, "What if the child at this stage is just lazy?" she stubbornly replied, "There must be a way to make him change." At this point, her wish has exceeded reality. The visitor who hopes to surpass his colleagues is the same. If surpassing colleagues is just his wish, when this wish fails, he can have other choices. Maybe he will think, "Forget it, I don't have much contact with them anyway, out of sight, out of mind." Or he can just change jobs. But when he falls into should thinking, he actually says, "I must surpass this colleague." At this point, he cannot see any other possibilities. Must and should thinking often go hand in hand. And must means only this result. When the result does not meet this expectation, he will fall into serious anxiety. There is another important difference between wishful thinking and should thinking. When we want to do something, we are the masters of our wishes, and we control our wishes. But when we fall into should thinking seems to become the master that controls us, and we can only obey the rules behind should thinking, thus losing our autonomy. My psychologist friend often says, "It's no big deal, you won't die anyway," when answering other people's questions. One day, someone asked him, "What if I really die?" He said, "It's no big deal, people will die anyway." In fact, what he wanted to say was, don't easily fall into this should thinking. So later, I explained the difference between wishful thinking and should thinking to my visitor. I asked him, "Is it your wish or something you must do to make your colleagues like you or surpass them?" He thought for a moment and said, "It should be a wish." I said, "Okay, then think about why they are not necessary, and list all the reasons you can think of." He went back and thought of many reasons, such as his value does not need to be affirmed by this colleague, even if he does not surpass his colleague, he also has his own progress, and so on. When he realized that this was not necessary, he was freed from should thinking, and his anxiety gradually eased. You may still have some doubts when you hear this. You may ask, many people, whether in reality or in movies, often say, "I must do it," when they make up their minds, and indeed many people have achieved their goals afterwards, and we also regard them as inspirational examples. If a wish is something that can be achieved or not achieved, rather than something that must be achieved, will we be too tolerant of our own laziness? Regarding this question, this is what I think. First of all, when a person says, "I must do it," he is not actually saying that he can definitely achieve this thing, but that he has the determination to invest and dedicate himself. This determination is not about the external world, but about himself. How much he is willing to invest and dedicate himself is of course something he can decide, but he cannot decide whether this thing can be done. Even if he has a strong desire to achieve this thing, he cannot expect reality to accommodate his wishes, otherwise it will become should thinking. Second, if a person regards determination as a wish rather than something that must be accomplished, it will make him more flexible. Sometimes, the more you realize that some roads are impassable, the more you will look for other roads. The more you accept reality, the more you can use reality to achieve your wishes, rather than being angry, depressed, and resentful with reality. Finally, I want to say that distinguishing between wishes and reality is a sign of a person's maturity and the key to getting out of should thinking. As an adult, you have to accept that this world is not designed around you, and the universe does not care about your joys and sorrows. Sometimes the world is unfair, and life is full of hardships and disappointments. If you cannot let go of the ideas about the world in your mind, just like a child cannot let go of the obsession with the fairy tale world, your mind will always have many images of the world should be like this, and when reality does not match this image, your heart will produce negative emotions such as depression, anger, and frustration. And these negative emotions originally came from your overly optimistic imagination about the world, and now they have become your reasons for being pessimistic about the world. If you stare at the crack between reality and should, and immerse yourself in disappointment with the world, you will not be able to take a closer look at the beautiful things in this world. This is the obstacle of should thinking to self-development.